We sure did. It's been acting up like you wouldn't believe. So we are 30 seconds ahead. I kept saying 30 seconds behind. We're 30 seconds ahead. So when people ask a question, it might have been something we said 30 seconds ago.
That's fine, man. You're the tech genius here, man. Tech with me, man. I don't know.
I hope so. I mean, it's a little laggy, but we'll see. All right. So let's do this. So thank you for joining us today. This is the Angryprepper, and as you guys can see, this is Prepper Nation. Thank you for joining us today, man. So guys, let's start out with the basics. How do we look and how do we sound? That's the
Can
other
you hear us, guys?
That's the other thing too. They they gotta wait to hear that. So it looks like
Got you. All right.
You would think with technology today it'd be a little faster. Maybe my computer, like I said, my computer's just crap. Just give me. All right, what's up? Hello, everyone. Hey, yo. All right, on my end we sound good because I can hear us on the iPad.
Awesome.
All right. So, guys, this is again Prepper Nation. He's been on YouTube for how long did you say?
I was podcasting. I'm a full-time author, guys, and I was podcasting for around 3 years on the subject of writing. And I guess where the 2020's been so crazy, I started to get a lot of emails from readers that were reading my fiction because I mentioned a few times that I was into prepping also. And eventually, I just switched the podcast over to prepping, and I've only been doing that for a few months, probably 3 or 4 months tops on the prepping.
Okay, very good. Wow. And you blew up, right? So you're at what, like 23,000?
Man, I tell you, it's the craziest thing. Like, I know religion's not for everybody or whatever, but I'm a religious guy. And, I was sitting here podcasting and everything like that and, just praying for God to open the door. And I'm not even kidding you. I go to bed, 38 followers. I wake up the next morning and I'm right there at 1,000. People are like, you need to go ahead and get monetized. I didn't even know the process of getting monetized or anything, and it's just been snowballing ever since. It's been crazy.
That's good, man. That's
in a good way.
No, that's very good. That's very good. You sound good. Prepper Nation needs to be a bit louder. All right, so people saying you need to be a bit louder, but guys, do me a favor. Either turn your volume up, or if you have headphones, put them on. He sounds loud and clear on my end, so it's each individual person's computer that's maybe low or not quite up to speed. But he sounds fine on my end, man. Oh shit, okay. So let's get into the questions. I get sidetracked with the chat on the side here. So how long and I know I actually just probably like 2-3 minutes ago, but now this is for the people. How long have you been a prepper for? Or how long have you been prepping, sorry.
Well, what happened was, I was the typical non-prepper. Like, I'll go ahead and admit it now, man. I used to think that preppers were sitting, in their basement with tinfoil hats on. You know the stereotype.
Yeah.
And I've got one really good friend, Marcus, who's been a prepper ever since right after high school. And I've laughed at the guy, this entire time. And in our area, right here on the North Carolina border in Southwest Virginia, back in 2013, there was a major tornado, and it wiped out everything. Electric, water, internet, cell phones were down for a couple of days, but I didn't know at the time that they get those up. They spin them up quick for first responders. Yeah. But anyway, long story short, we had 2 small children, 4 years old and a year and a half old, and we got caught here with virtually nothing. A couple of days worth of food, maybe a day and a half of water. And I had to suck it up and call my buddy Marcus because he's the only one that I knew that prepped. And when I called the guy, he's sitting here watching a NASCAR race on his big screen, drinking beer and eating steak. And he's laughing at me on the phone, but I mean, honestly, he really bailed me out. He's like, yeah, man, come get some stuff. I got extra.
Right.
And from that moment on, I started researching, prepping. Probably the rest of 2013, I just dove into it and I tried to learn what I could, and really started to try and apply it 2014ish. I started buying gear as I could afford it. Going out, and when we were camping, instead of taking like a big lighter to start a fire, here, let's use something else. And that took about an hour the first time, trying to get a fire going. And, I just, ever since then, I've tried to, I don't know it all, obviously, but I've tried to learn as I go. That's one of the things, honestly, that attracts me to prepping is there's always something else to learn. There's always something else to get better at. And that's just one of the reasons I love it, to be honest.
It's funny you say that because there are a lot of dudes out there, especially when it comes to the whole survivalist thing, like out in the wilderness. There are guys out there that swear they're like David Boone, or sorry, David Crockett, and they're out there, like, oh, I got this, I could, I could survive drill, and they can't do shit, like, listen, I did a bow drill once, man, and I was super happy about it. Got to practice all the time with that, and you're right. When you go out there, and every time you go out, or you're researching prepping, you should be learning something new. That's just a thing I've always been told. If you're always learning something, you're always going to learn something new. If you think you know everything, you're the most dangerous person in the room.
Yeah, for sure. One of the biggest tips I can give, if there's any brand new preppers out there, something I wish I would have done starting out, is just to go and do it. Like the first time that I tried to put a bug out bag together, and I got out, we were camping or whatever. A majority of the stuff I had, I never ended up using. And then there's, this list of stuff in my head, like, I wish I would have brought this, I wish I would have brought this. But that's something that I would suggest to everybody do, is go out and figure out what you need. Just a newbie mistake. I made plenty of them.
I think we all do, So, you know what? And listen, man, I think you definitely have enough knowledge. You should start like a little group out there. So, here in New York, we have a group called NYC Preppers Network. And we do something called Bug Out Weekends. And this is where we take our bug out bags and we head out and we learn what we didn't need and what we needed. And you fine tune your bag from that point on, But yeah, listen, even I don't know, I've been doing this for 8 years maybe. Even then, I'm always learning something new. Especially there might be a new YouTuber and he'll say some shit and I'm like, man, that's fucking really good, So you got to be willing to learn or you're gonna get lost. That's pretty much that's my thinking. So. Indiana Prepper, Matthew and Jason, thank you for the donations, man. I appreciate it once again. And T Baby, 1217.3, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. All right. That was going to happen. I think there was just too much power going through. So now we're buffering on this side. So what I think we might have to do... Okay, we started again.
Okay.
All right, good. We started again. All right, guys, I apologize for that. There's, again, I have to get a new computer. That's what it comes down to. This thing is going to really get embedded in the wall in, like, the next like half hour. But, so, the question I asked was... Because you couldn't hear me, sorry. What are you preparing for? Or what did you prepare for? And did you evolve from that?
Well, honestly, the baseline for me was not getting caught without food again, because for any parents out there, that's, at least for me, it was the worst feeling in the world, not knowing, how my kids were going to eat. So I do focus heavy on food. I do a lot of freeze-dried food now. And then I do the beans and the rice and the mylar and stuff like that, and canned food. So that's the main thing for me. And honestly, I'm prepping heavy that way right now because I do see, on the horizon a food shortage and just a banged up economy coming up. But yeah, I mean, I've kind of evolved as far as, I started out with just cheaper canned food, and then I figured out how Mylar worked and absorbers and things like that, and just went from there. And then I've tried not all of the freeze-dried food, but I've tried several brands and figured out the ones I liked and things like that. And then I just have stockpiled those.
So, what is your favorite freeze-dried food?
Taste-wise, ready-wise.
Okay.
But we're limited in our area unless I order it online. Now, I've not tried 4 Patriots or Legacy. Those are 2 that I have not tried.
Okay, yeah, I just heard Legacy today for the first time. I had no clue they exist.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's pretty good. All right, so sorry. Kevin, Chris, and Van Colt, thank you for the donations. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. So, here's it's not in the question. What is your favorite prepping item or bug out item or outdoor item?
Man, it's almost borderline fetish. I'm huge into knives.
Okay.
I actually caught the knife video that you did. I think it was last week, where you were reviewing the knife. And man, I'm like, I've probably got 20 quality knives here, and I'm like, man, I really don't need another one, but it looked pretty sweet, so I'm thinking about it. You know what I mean?
Very good.
But that's one thing I don't cheap out on. I gotta have my knives, man.
You know what? I learned my lesson the hard way, getting my nuts broken. But I used to buy like cheapo knives and think they were the shit. And like, look at this thing. And then you get made fun of, and you're like, okay, I'm going to put this away now, And then you start buying quality shit, and you're like, and then you see the difference once you do it. But, it's, I learned the hard way about knives. But yeah, now like knives are my thing. I think I have, I don't probably have as much as you do, but I think I'm in like the 60-70 range right now.
Yeah, I don't have as many. I caught the live stream last night. I don't have nearly as many bags as you folks had. You and Prepper now.
Yeah.
I have two or three. But yeah, I bought a really good one online. It's like a military grade, but I got it, and I'm like, man, this bag's too small. And I paid like $200 for it, so I had to go get a bigger bag. That's one of the mess ups I've made as well.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. I mean, if we all do. That's the one thing I think we all mess up on is we get that stupid small, military type 5-tier bag, right? Then you put everything in it, and you think you're in business, and you try to put it on, and something rips, or a stitch comes out. You're like, shit, So it's almost like everyone does it. Liz and Brenda, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. So, I mean, I don't know. I now I buy, like tactical bags, and people are like, you need to get away from that. I'm like, no. I've tried those camping bags, and either A, they're not built for big dudes, or B, I got to be a hipster and like super skinny to fit in one of those things. So because I'm neither, I go with tactical gear. Plus, tactical gear you could toss down the side of a mountain and the bag will stay intact. Your shit won't, but it's still good. So, why did you start? Well, yeah, why did you start YouTubing? So, what was the certain guys have a catalyst, and the catalyst is to spread the word because X, Y, and Z. What's your reason for starting a YouTube after switching over?
Well, yeah. With the writing, I was actually on somebody else's YouTube channel. I was brand new to YouTube. And after I did, the writing interview, I was like, man, that was pretty fun. And I'm a low-tech dude. I remember telling you that in the email.
Yeah.
But I got a friend who's like super high-tech, you know what I mean? Like his whole bedroom, he's got computers stacked everywhere. But anyway, he set me up with the writing podcast. And he would come over every couple of weeks and make sure I wasn't screwing something up. And so I did that for a while, and then I just switched over. It's just fun, And then when I started getting a bunch of questions about the prepping, which is the other, I'm passionate when it comes to reading, and I'm passionate when it comes to prepping. And so when I started getting a flood of questions about prepping, I'm like, well, 2020's been terrible anyway. So I just switched, I kind of rethemed, I guess, the channel. And like I said, overnight, it just boomed.
Oh, that's good, man. Listen, that is very good. A lot of you guys who blew up this year, that is awesome. I mean, I've been on since I think 2012, and my channel wasn't doing. Listen, I was doing it just because it was spreading the message. I wasn't in it for anything else. And then when it blew up, I was like, holy shit. I mean, it's nice, but it's nice to also know that that people are listening, and that people are comparing you to other people that are out there and saying, well, listen, you're just as good as this, you're just as good as that. And I take that as an honor when you compare to somebody who is in the YouTube world, like a high ranking, prepper YouTuber or survivalist or whatever, that's just
I was just telling my patrons this morning, man, I'm like, pray for me because I'm going over here and this guy's like the Mike Tyson of prepping. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, listen.
Man, I got nerves.
You know what? Thank you for that. I mean, I wish I was, but again, we are all just learning the same, and it's good because yourself, myself, Magic Prepper, we started growing like pretty fast this year. And then you got a lot of like smaller channels who are coming up right behind us, which is good. Because I think, listen, there need to be more of these channels than channels on what Kim Kardashian wore 3 episodes ago.
Exactly.
There's entire YouTube channels dedicated on her show, and like talking about what she did last episode. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, And there are people who listen. These people have like a few 100,000 fucking subscribers, and I'm like, holy shit, So that's insane. But this is real things that people should be listening to. I'm not saying they should be listening to me, but they should be listening to preppers because we're in a real situation now,
And it's fun, man. Like, I'm blessed to have the following that I do now. But honestly, man, if I was back down to 38 followers, I would still be on here rambling about prepping just because I love it,
I think I like the filming, I like the YouTube, and I like the conversing with different people. That's what I'm enjoying right now. Especially like having guys like you on. This is fun, right? So we need some kind of fun in this bullshit that's going on right now.
Yeah.
So my next question, this is a little hard hitting question. What is your stance on the face masks?
I don't like them. I mean, to be honest with you, I try and be respectful. I understand that some people are more susceptible to catching the COVID. The obvious stuff, like if you're going to visit someone in a nursing home, wear a mask. If you're going into a store and they say wear a mask, wear a mask. The car thing you guys were talking about last night, maybe these people are going to pick somebody up who's elderly, but the walking down the sidewalk by yourself with a mask on, I mean, I don't understand that. That's just fear. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I would assume to get rid of the masks altogether, but I don't want to be that guy that's responsible for someone else getting sick and dying or something.
That's the thing, and it's funny. CDC came out with a study, and the study was pretty eye-opening, and it was just talking about wearing a mask and how people who wore the face mask are still getting sick. And you can contribute. They took it off at the wrong time. Maybe they were like in the store and they want to, I don't know, take it off because it got too claustrophobic for them, and that's when they caught it, like at that moment. But the amount of people that have been catching it wearing it, not that it's high, but you got to read the study because it's pretty interesting. So I'm on the fence with the mask. I think the mask has its place, but not everywhere. Not walking your dog. in the rain by yourself.
Here, I'm sorry. Here, when you go out to a restaurant to eat, the rule is you wear the mask in, and then once you get inside, there's people inside eating. Then you take the mask off to eat. And I'm like, what's the point of even wearing the mask? Because once you go in there, nobody's wearing a mask. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Just, I don't know, man. It's like a power trip or something to a degree.
You know, I also think that the power tripping thing is one part of me. The other part of me is we still haven't figured this shit out yet, or what we're up against. And I think most of us have, but I think that because they don't know and nobody wants to get sued, they're telling everyone to wear a mask. You know, because they're afraid of getting sued left and right. So now I'm curious. You saw what happened in New York City. How was COVID handled by you?
You mean how was it handled here?
Yes.
Well, not as bad probably as New York City. They shut it down here. But I think the thing that was affected the most here by the shutdowns was the economy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just people losing jobs and people having no income. And I really do think that, I hate to say it, but I think a second round of lockdowns is coming in a lot of places, and I think it's going to devastate the economy. Because there are a lot of people here that are still hurting from the first round of lockdowns, you know, financially. I don't know if there was really a good way to handle it, though. You know what I'm saying? I try and put myself in that position, and what do? Do you take a chance on tons of people dying, or do you just crash the economy? You know?
Yeah. Listen, it is a hard place to be for a politician, though. I think some politicians are definitely taking liberties with this COVID and doing what they want to do.
Michigan, right?
Right, and even New York. What's his name? That asshole, the governor. You know, right? Cuomo. He definitely took some liberties without COVID and screwing us over what he can. Sorry about that. So Liz, Tony, be ready today. Thank you, Brenda, Natalie, Melinda, Widow Prepper. Thank you for the donations. I appreciate it, guys. Guys, if you haven't or don't already know. Be Ready Today has a YouTube channel. Please head over to his channel, like and subscribe. The guy is really good. I would call him the Morgan Freeman of prepping. And listen.
I'm sorry. Is that the guy that was on a few nights ago?
Yes.
Be Ready Today.
Yes.
I subbed to him, man. He's awesome.
Yes.
I didn't know about him until I saw him on here. He's fantastic.
He is. I like him. And a couple other mentions. North Shore Preparedness. Prepper Now, who's my moderator. These guys' YouTube channel, guys, head over to them, like and subscribe. Prepper Now is he's like a history teacher when it comes to like prepping, because he'll always tell you like where it stemmed from or where we're headed, because history is repeating itself. North Shore Preparedness, he's just a really relaxed prepper dude. He's not like myself, like high strung. He's got that smooth voice, and he does a ton of videos on canning and how to prepare cheaply, if you will. Not that I'm breaking his nuts about being cheap, but it's still a good channel to visit. So if you guys haven't, head over to those channels and like and subscribe.
I need to tell you, man, I'm actually 3 months away myself for getting a degree teaching history.
No shit.
And I was super impressed, with Prepper Now. He knows his stuff. I was sitting here last night watching the stream, and he was talking about the parallels between a lot of stuff that's going on now and the Bolsheviks. And I'm like, man, he is spot on when he's talking about that. He knows what he's talking about. Well,
listen, he forces me to actually do better research, right? So if I'm gonna talk about something in history, I have to do the research on it so that I know, what I'm talking about. Because listen, again, that's a guy I would listen to when he's talking about repeating history, and he's like, you see what's going on here? This happened, like 40 years ago. We got to be careful because we could be entering, that same, history repeating itself. Armageddon Prepper, you're right. North Shore Preparedness is frugal. Or cheap, but nonetheless, it's a good channel, man. I enjoy his channel. So, I have to ask this question. What do you think will come from the second wave?
A second Great Depression. I really do think that. I think that it's going to completely crash our economy. When you take a look at our country now and how far in debt we are, not just the country itself, but how far the average American is in debt. I mean, most people they're not sitting on a lot of savings. And we're going to see a bunch of jobs eliminated, I think, and we're going to see a bunch of people evicted. And then I think there's a food shortage coming as well.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, man. I think you just nailed it. For everything that's coming, it's just bad, and we got to continue to keep preparing for it. So, what is the difference between an urban prepping and suburban prepping?
Well, a suburban prepper can survive out here. Like I could survive out here. I don't know how far I'd make it in New York, man. As a prepper in New York, as soon as trouble hits, I'm either bugging out or I'm carrying a bunch of supplies to a rooftop and I'm chaining the doors shut. I would not know any other way to survive in an urban setting. I think that there's going to be more violence where you're at, but I think that things are going to be more scarce where I'm at, supplies and things like that. Just my opinion.
No, I think you're right, because supplies everywhere are dwindling, right? I mean, like the jarring supplies, everyone's been complaining about it, and then I look it up, and I'm like, and I found some jars in like Target by me. I found some, and so I ordered 2 packs, because they're limited. But if you go on Amazon, one of my moderators, Marbury Homestead, sent me a link where they wanted like, I don't know, $100 and something for, I think it was like 6 or 12 of them or something like that. I know. I'm talking about price gouging, right? So yeah, she was like, "You see this?" And I'm like, and I'm staring at it because I'm like, "What am I looking at?" And I see the price, but it doesn't register yet because I'm like, "There's no way," right?
Yeah.
And she was like, "No, that's the price." I was like, "Holy!"
If we had them here, we don't have any here, but if we had them, they would be probably $15 or something. But I mean, they've been sold out for a long time everywhere in this area.
Yeah, up here, there's still some left because we don't jar up here like everywhere else does. So I guess that's a good thing for me. But every time I see them now, if there's a case, I'll buy it. If it's the last one, I'll pick it up. What I might wind up doing with it is just trading it with somebody or giving it to somebody down the line who needs it. But
Yeah.
that's where I'm at now because it's such a short supply. But I don't know, man. It's that is alarming because then you go to the supermarket and you're seeing like less food on the shelves. They try to be cute and push everything up to the front so that it looks like there's food.
Oh yeah.
But I'm like, holy shit, man, this is going to get bad. So, what is your biggest fear?
Well, again, as a parent, my biggest fear would be not being able to feed my kids. But if we're talking about what's coming, again, short term, I think we're going to be in a depression. Long term, Antifa. Not necessarily the people who are in Antifa now,
Really?
but the ideology. Like Prepper Now was talking about parallels. I see a lot of parallels between Antifa and the indoctrination that's going on there and Nazi Germany. And, so long term, my biggest fear is, man, we're going to get older. Our generation's going to get older, and our kids are going to inherit this country, and our kids are being indoctrinated in schools, basically to hate the system that we have now and to embrace socialism and then communism.
Right.
And so long term, that's a problem, in my opinion.
No, holy shit, that's good because I said that, and then a couple of guys like I work with, they're like, look at their propaganda. It's identical to the Nazi Party when they were first starting. It's just that's insane that you said that. Christy, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Sorry, it's thank you for the donation. And again, guys, for all the donations you give, we appreciate it. Thank you. So I have to ask this question. I know what your answer is going to be, but do you own firearms, and which one's your favorite?
Yeah, I own a couple of 22, which I know is funny. Most of the people here own things that are way more powerful than 22 long rifles.
Right.
But I got two Rugers, then I have an older 9mm Taurus. I mean, it's a beater, but it's functional. And I just got a Beretta sidearm, Beretta 9mm, which is awesome.
Nice.
And that's the favorite of the four there, because it's new. But I'm also partial to the 1911 model because I'm a history guy, and it's kind of World War II-ish. The 1911 model. I got huge ogre hands, man.
Okay.
And so I can't do the small guns. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I stick to the 9mm and the 22s. And the logic there is the ammo should be everywhere. If there's no ammo shortage.
Gotcha.
Which right now there's no pistol ammo here.
So how bad is the ammo shortage by you?
We have shotgun ammo all day long, but we have no other kind of ammo. Like we have AR rifles right now. AR-15s are on sale. They're down to $300 or $400, which is pretty cheap.
Oh shit!
But there's no ammo for them, so they're basically baseball bats. Yeah, you can't find 9mm, you can't find 22, you can't find 38, nothing. But shotgun shells.
Holy shit! I mean, listen, you can still do damage with a shotgun shell, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've thought about getting a shotgun, but I'm like, again, there's other stuff that I need to buy too. And my wife's like, well, we got enough guns and all this stuff, man.
Yeah, you can't talk guns around the wives. You just got to buy it and then surprise her with it. Holy shit, look what I found, Mary and Wolf Mule, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Thanks once again, guys. So, do you own an EDC kit, an everyday carry?
No, I don't, man. I have a get home bag in the trunk, and I carry the power bars and the water in the trunk just in case.
Okay.
I've got a watch that's got paracord on it. I'm always carrying a knife, but other than that, I don't have an EDC.
All right. One would say
something I need to get into, I guess.
Well, one would say your knife and your paracord is part of a kit. So, listen. As long as it's funny. It's people who own like an EDC kit, and I catch them all the time when we do the group thing. The group outing, and they'll have all this stuff in their bag. I'm like, do you know how to use any of this stuff? And they'll be like, no. I said, this is why, some of the stuff, believe it or not, man, I had a couple people show up, and the items are still in the plastic wrap, and I'm like, and I'll look at it, and I'll be like, oh, all right, they just bought it so they can use it out here because they want to learn. And I'll ask them, oh man, that's cool. That's you just bought that, for the trip. They're like, nah, man, it's been sitting in my bag for a couple of years. I'm like, oh my god, no, that's not what you're supposed to do.
I'm guilty of that. Probably with a few things in the medical bag. We have 3 bug out bags. My wife has one, I have one, and then we have one that's dedicated to nothing but medical stuff.
Okay.
She knows how to use it all. There are a few things in there that I do not know how to use. I wouldn't know at all how to use it.
Well, as long as one of you know how to use it, it's fine,
Yeah.
And then listen, not for nothing, but when it comes to medical, there's a lot of things you'll figure it out when it happens, especially if someone's profusely bleeding, that you got to stop the bleeding. But listen, it never. I tell people all the time, it never hurts to train. To take a course or two. I'm looking to take a couple medical courses just because I want to fine tune my medical skills. I think people should definitely start doing that, especially with what's going on now. People are getting shot left and right in the street, and listen.
That's crazy,
right?
Yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, I was just talking about that the other day in a video about how the police, I guess in New York, are just standing by and I guess scared to do anything about it. Scared they're going to be prosecuted or whatever.
Well, they have a law called the diaphragm law, And the diaphragm law is if you put any kind of restriction on a person's chest, stomach, or even their trach, neck here, if the perp wants to sue or complain, the cop could be brought up on charges. So now imagine trying to arrest somebody, and then the guy gets up off the ground and he gets in the cell and he goes, "Listen, he pressed too hard on my stomach when he was arresting me." The cop could possibly get into trouble for that. I was like, "Oh, yeah, no." So why would a cop want to do anything, right? Especially a cop that's on his way out. His pension's about to fucking, he's about to collect his pension, retire, and he's gonna get jammed up for this, for this idiot. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So, at what point would you bug out in your current situation?
Well, I mean, it's classified as a city, but it's a really small city, Mount Airy.
Okay.
If trouble's coming, I'm paying attention to the news. Like, I've got my ear down to the radio. If at any point I think my family's in danger, we're out. But up until that point, I'm going to bunker in, because I've been out here for a couple of weeks at a time just to see if it can be done, and out in the woods, and it's miserable. It's miserable. It is not. There's nothing glamorous about going to the woods and trying to, it's not camping, and so yeah, that's a last resort, especially with kids. But if the family's in immediate danger, as in 5 or 6 houses down the street, there's chaos, there's shooting, something like that, then it's time to go.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's funny. I think a lot of people think, including myself, I'm not going to exclude myself, but at some point when I first started, I thought bugging out was just like you had to do it. But when you do the camping in the sub-zero temperatures, you're going, no, I'm not going to subject my family to this bullshit. I enjoy it. I get a kick out of camping in minus temperature degrees, because it's always a challenge. It's always one of those things like, am I going to wake up tomorrow morning? And listen, I know what I'm doing, but it's sometimes it gets deathly cold out there. So, what are your predictions for the rest of this year and next year?
Well, I think I heard this over at the Prepared Mind, which is an awesome prepping channel.
Okay.
And he equated it to a roller coaster, and I think right around election time, we're going to start taking that descent way down. It's going to be bad up until election time, and then after election time, I think we're going to see a bunch of civil unrest in the bigger cities. It doesn't really matter who wins the election. It's going to be bad. The extreme left, they really have nobody running unless you consider Kamala Harris. They're not for Joe Biden. They're not for Donald Trump. And then you factor in the economy, the food shortage that's coming up, the possibility of vaccines being mandatory. It's just going to be a mess. I always tell the folks over at Prepper Nation to prep food. Prep the daylights out of food, because that's going to be the number one thing. And then to stay out of, if at all possible, to stay out of areas where there are tons of people. Because when that sets in, you don't want to be around a lot of people. I don't know that I see a civil war or anything like that. It's just going to be just total chaos, I believe.
No, yeah, I think you're right, man. I think that, it's just the road we're headed down. For sure, it's uncertain, but there's certain things we can definitely peep and be like, all right, this is going to get out of control. And no, you nailed it. So this is a moral question. I think you know what this one is, but and I think I know what your answer is going to be. But there is no right or wrong answer with this. So you are minding a business, bugging out, and you come across a prepper stash, obvious prepper stash. Do you take it? Do you leave it?
I thought about this question today, actually, and if I'm not a Christian, if I'm just a regular prepper here, I'm taking the stash, because if I found it, somebody did a horrible job of hiding it. They deserve what they get.
Holy shit. I like that. I like that answer.
As a Christian, man, as a Christian, I'm going to level with you. If my kids are starving, I'm going to take what I need out of it and give it to my kids. But I'm probably going to take something out of my bug out bag or something like that and replace it. Something that I can live without. That way I'm not just outright taking something. And I mean, that's my best answer anyway. But yeah, I mean, to be minding your own business and find an obvious prepper stash. I mean, really, man. Somebody did a terrible job behind it.
I like that. Shame on them. I'm taking that shit. So, Jory, DHR Street, Beverly Hillbilly. Thank you for the donation. Margaret Benacourt, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it, guys. Yo, so after we're done with this stream, do not click off yet because I want to talk to you afterwards, if you don't mind.
Okay.
All right, so obviously, this is a good question for a lot of us beginners, but what mistakes have you made in prepping and how did you learn from it?
Oh my God, man. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and throw his name out here. I love him to death, man. He knows what he's talking about. But the Canadian Prepper, if you've ever watched his streams, he sells like the most high-end stuff that's available, but it's outrageously priced. And when I first started prepping, thank God I didn't know about his channel because that was the mistake I made. You know, when I saw something incredible, I gotta have it. This
Right.
prepper that he's talking about, I gotta have everything he's got. And I would probably be sleeping under a bridge or something right now because I'd be broke with all the stuff, all the cool stuff he's got over there, man. It was just buying all of the gear, and a lot of it is stuff that I would have never used. But as a new prepper, I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? And like a foldable shovel, $250. I see it on a podcast. Yeah, I got to save up and get that shovel. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure.
Just using that as an example or whatever. But yeah, it's all got to be top of the line. And then as I prepped for a while, I realized, okay, I don't cheap out on my knives. I don't cheap out on the bug out bags or the tents. Other than that, I don't care, what brand it is or anything like that. That's where I save the money. But I didn't know that when I first started.
Well, listen, I did the same thing too. When it came to like buying MREs, I was bidding for it on eBay, And man, sometimes what sucked about the eBay and bidding for it was my fucking ego got in the way of that shit, man. And I start bidding for it. It started like $40, and I'm like, "Fuck this! He's not gonna win this thing. I want it, And then it ended up like $80 or $90, and that was way too much money for MREs. And then I found MREs that were like reasonably priced as far as the box goes. But I stay away from eBay now. I don't do that shit anymore because it just turns into like a dick measuring contest. You're like, I got more money than him. I'm gonna keep buying this, and I thank God I stopped. But when I first started, I think I spent some crazy shit like a few $1,000s in the first month because I needed this, I needed that, and then the world didn't end yesterday, so I wasted all this money. And then you grow up and you're like, all right, let me get this, but let me prioritize what I need.
Yeah, exactly.
And now I'm at a point where I'm like, fuck it, I'm buying it all. And if I go broke, whatever, man. You can't take the money with you, right? So well, I guess I was going to ask, because you said you're in the knives, do you have a favorite knife, like your go-to?
Yeah. SOG, SOG, is my go-to. I probably have 20 knives here.
Okay.
And 14 or 15 are SOGs. I happened to buy one. We were in Tennessee on vacation. They have a huge knife store in Pigeon Forge, and I went in. And I happened to buy one, and I fell in love with it, man. And I've stuck with it up until I saw the video you did earlier this week. Man, that thing, what is it, the Mamu or something like that?
Yeah, the Mamu by us.
That thing, that was beautiful, man. I'm like, oh my God, I don't need another knife. If I went over there and checked the price, and it was like around $200, I said, nah, my wife will kill me if I get this thing, man.
Yeah, it's pretty pricey, man. And you can't explain your way out of that one. I mean, listen. I've done it. I've done it before. Like I bought stuff and hid it, and then like a year later she'll find it. She's like, "What the hell is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's old. I mean, I'm not lying. I bought it a year ago, but she would always find it, and I'm like, it's for prepping. Really, it's just because I wanted it. I mean, who needs 70 knives? But
Yeah, start sealing them up in Mylar bags, man. Put them in 5-gallon buckets or something. Somewhere she wouldn't look.
That's a good. That's a good idea, actually. Yeah, but she would always find, like, if I'm packing for a camping trip, that's when she would find it. She'd be like, "Oh, what is this thing?" I'm like, "Fuck," and I'm like, "Oh, it's old. I bought it a year ago." So listen, what would be your favorite bug out vehicle if you could build one?
If I could build one or buy any one I wanted,
right?
Man, it would be the first generation military Hummer, the Humvees, the original, the bigger ones.
Yeah.
I love them, man. I mean, they're crude or whatever, but they're functional, man, and I could do a lot with one.
Shit.
Especially around here.
Okay, I didn't. You know what? I never even thought of, like, something that old. I was like, oh, my shit will hover off the ground and all this other crazy shit. And here you are. You just said.
I can't spin it as a family vehicle though, man. I can't sell the idea to my wife. You know what I'm saying?
And not after she gets in the thing and it's like this, and she's doom bouncing around. She's like, what the hell is this thing? Yeah, she'll definitely nail you to the cross for that one, man. But listen, I have to ask. Do you see the difference? Is there a difference between prepping and homesteading?
I think so. I think prepping, and this is just my opinion, but I think prepping is more tailored towards surviving maybe a short-term disaster or something in the immediate area, whereas homesteading is more long-term. You're thinking a year or two ahead as far as planting seeds, growing crops, things like that. When I hear prepping, I'm thinking, especially in your area, I'm thinking stack freeze-dried foods, stack plenty of water, make sure you got the emergency radio, a firearm. Homesteading is more extreme farming to me, which I know a lot of homesteaders also prep. But, I mean, to be able to grow your stuff, man, that would be all. I wish I was in position maybe one day.
That is good. Okay, I think he's frozen. Are you good? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, you froze on my end. I was gonna be like, oh no, not again. All right, so yeah, we're good. We're out of the frozen zone. Now I heard everything you said. And I agree. I think homesteading is just a longer, more sustainable option. And I want to know, I'm curious as to how many of the preppers are, if that's their goal, because you start prepping and then you want to get to homesteading where you're completely reliant on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I would love to be there. You know what I'm saying? But it would take quite a bit of land, seclusion, things like that.
That is true. So I have to ask this question. I think we touched on it. What is your... without sounding like a fucking conspiracy theorist, what is your view on this whole China in Canada thing?
I've had several people this week email me and ask me about that. I don't think that the threat of an invasion from China, is very small. Yeah. I think the possibility exists, but it's very small. I don't really think it's much different than the U.S. having troops in South Korea, because, we're close to China there. But again, getting back to Antifa, to me, at least, it seems like there's an international player kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes. They're a little too organized.
Yeah.
And so I do wonder, it could be Russia, but I do wonder if China's not doing that to try and kill us from within.
That would make sense. Merry Christmas 2.0. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. I actually like that tag. Merry Christmas 2.0. Considering Christmas is probably canceled. Yeah, no. Listen, what is... so, I mean, you're not from New York, and I don't know if you how what your view is, but what is your view on things like Rockefeller Center being canceled, the ball drop being canceled for New Year's Eve, and the Thanksgiving parade being canceled? Because I'm pretty sure if we're canceling these things here, other cities might be following suit.
Yeah, and not to be like the conspiracy theorist here, but a lot of what Prepper now is talking about with the Bolsheviks and everything.
Right.
What communism does is they will come into a country and they will try and break down the system and the traditions that are there completely and then rebuild it. And so I'm not a huge fan, to be honest with you, of getting rid of a lot of these things that we're used to as Americans, because it kind of conditions people. You know, people start to forget what it's like what normal feels like.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
And then eventually, you know, you kind of get used to and conditioned to a different way. And that's, honestly, that's what Antifa wants, and that's what socialism wants, and communism. So I'm not a huge fan of it.
You know, it's funny you said that, right? Because they want to take away, like, values and stuff like that, right? So here it is. Oh, God. I don't even want to talk about it, but I have to. So, Baby It's Cold Outside, right? The classic Christmas song. They wanted to cancel it. Radio stations have pulled it, and they said, it's offensive. So now, do you know who Cardi B is?
Yeah.
Okay. She's
comes out. Mariah Carey, man, but I know who you're talking about.
Right. Okay, very good. So she came out with a song with another chick, and it's called they call it WAP, but I'm like, it's WAP, man. WAP is WAP. Anyway, the song is horrendous. I mean, horrendous. It's like a porno in the form of a song, and I'm like, this is like a #1 hit or something like that. This song, right? And they're labeling it women empowerment. They're like, oh, women can talk how they want. But Baby It's Cold Outside, which is a harmless Christmas song, was deemed offensive.
Yeah.
Now, this is where, when you were talking about taking values away, Antifa and groups like that taking our value away, it's happening. Because if you sit there and you deem a harmless Christmas song offensive, but you're saying Cardi B song is perfectly fine, we're in trouble. Right?
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what's happening. Like, not just at the university level, but they're taking what we're used to and what we consider normal, folks our age, and they're trying to scrub it out. And then they are actually targeting kids and, high schoolers, university age kids, because eventually they're going to be the adults here.
Right.
And their idea of normal is going to be completely different. And then the United States is basically changed from within. And that's what I'm worried about long term. I don't think that Antifa, head-to-head, military-wise, is a huge threat with the trash can shields and things like that. It's the ideology,
right?
That's a problem.
Listen, man, I won, again, because now the questions are starting to flow, and I wish I wrote these down, but I haven't. But whatever. Do you think America as a whole is in trouble?
Yeah, I do. Not just financially, but I think that we're under attack. Not in terms of the military, but I think that we're under attack. Our system from an outside, international player. Again, I don't know who that would be. It could very well be Russia. It's possibly China, where we're in a Cold War with China. They would love to see us, become the next Rome, I think. But, there's no proof to that. It's a gut feeling.
Right. That's why I stay away from, like, conspiracy theories, because, listen, some of them I agree with. Some of them I'm like, yo, that makes a lot of sense. Right? But then, then others, you're like, where the hell did this guy do? Fall off? He fell off a chair just today, because that didn't make any sense. But those that make sense, I still can't talk about it on the channel, because it's just like, there's no proof. It's almost like the sky is falling. I forgot. Someone asked me a question about something that's recently happened. I can't remember but my answer to him was, that's been going on for the last 12 years. China. It was a China thing, and he was like about invading. I'm like, that's been going on for the last like 8 years now, 12 years. I've been hearing about China's going to invade. They're going to invade, and they're like, well, now the Chinese are, they're here in Canada. I'm like, dude, look at their president. That liberal prick. They could be training it. They could be doing whatever. I mean, I don't think they're going to rally enough Chinese troops without anyone really noticing. A couple of hundred is nothing. A few tens of thousands, that's a problem then. But until I see them lined up on a field somewhere ready to rock and roll, I pay attention to it, but I don't I won't put my stock in it. I'm not going to sit there and be like, this is gonna happen. No, we don't know. And so many things have not happened. With martial law. Martial law is a thing, but people were talking about martial law when Obama was going to go into office. They talked about him taking all our guns, and we didn't lose our guns. Well, for those of you that collect, you guys didn't lose anything. And I think the panicking, needs to stop, because you get everybody in a tizzy with that. What is your view on that? Last thing I said.
Well, it's funny because martial law is actually, I have a video scheduled for tomorrow, but what I'm talking about in the video is the difference between like the textbook martial law,
right,
which is the military, and the average person or the average American's view of martial law. So in other words, if the SWAT team is beating on your door, going door to door, for example, like they did during the Boston Marathon bombings, right afterwards, they were going door to door. Technically, that's not martial law, but to the people that were getting their doors beat on, they probably didn't know the difference, or it felt to them like martial law.
Right.
And I do think we're going to see a lot of that following the election in certain areas. With the violence and things that's going to kick off. Now, it's probably not going to technically be martial law, but a lot of people aren't going to know the difference.
Right, and I think that's the problem with the misinformation. Merry Christmas 2.0. Again, thank you. Greg, thank you for the donation. Guys, donations are much appreciated. So, I have a question for you, because it's popped up a couple times in the chat.
Okay.
What is your view on the vaccine?
I'm not taking it for a while. My understanding is, and I'm not Bill Nye the Science Guy or whatever, but my understanding is it takes 6, 8, or even 10 years to properly do a vaccine and test it out and everything to make sure it's safe. And they have almost produced a vaccine in less than a year. So I'm not going to be standing in line to take it. Maybe 10 years from now, if people haven't dropped over dead or been, seriously messed up from it, then I'll take it.
Right.
But there's no way I'm taking it, and I'm not going to let my kids take it.
Very good. And I asked that because it popped up in the stream a couple times. But I also saw 3 companies right now had to halt their research or development on the vaccine because of injuries. Right?
Yeah.
So now they held it off on just one patient getting this injury, because I guess they do the math and it multiplies to tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. So I'm like, but this is what you get when you rush a vaccine, right? And listen, I'm a grown-ass man. I'm not taking anybody's vaccine. I think a lot of us need to strengthen our immune system. We need to eat better. We need to stop some of the unhealthy things we do. Like me, I'm a sugar monster. I love sugar. I got to cut that shit out, right? But I think if we ate better, we wouldn't need a lot of vaccines. I think our body would be able to fight off. And then listen, there's some vaccines that are needed, Yeah. But
I'm not anti-vaccine at all.
No, I'm not either.
There's a difference between taking a vaccine and just being stupid about it, and taking one that the president or whoever's rushed through in 6 months so he can get reelected, or so a company can make billions of dollars off of it. I'm not going to be standing in that line.
No, and here's a problem. Remember that movie Contagion?
Yeah.
Remember that scene towards the end of the movie where Matt Damon had a bracelet on, and he was going into the store, and the guard had to look at the bracelet and then let him in.
Yeah.
Right. They're talking.
Headed there.
Right. They were talking about medical IDs, and I'm like, you got to be fucking. Yeah, I said, you know what? Thank God for online ordering then, because if I don't step into another fucking store, it's fine. You know, you're not going to force, because my ideology changed a little bit from when COVID first started to now. Listen, I still think it's serious for those who are immune deficient or sick or whatever it is, but I was surrounded by it and I didn't get it. Right? The kids had it, the wife had it, guys at my job had it, neighbor in my building, a couple of them had it, right? And I'm surrounded by it. They're coughing and nothing. That's me. I don't get anything. So I'm wondering if, and then again, the kids and the wife and the neighbors and the guys at the firehouse, everyone recovered. Not one of them died, right? So now, why should the masses suffer for the few that need to be protected? And those are the few that might need the vaccine. But I don't think you could blanketly say everyone needs to take it just because a few are, not weaker, but sick.
Unfortunately, I think that you make a good point. I think we're kind of headed down that road, and I'm not 100% sure it's all about the COVID-19, to be honest with you. I think it's a control thing. Not to be the conspiracy guy once again, but people in power want to keep power. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they can control people with methods like that, and also food. The food shortage, man. Some of the stuff that has happened to food supplies around the world is a little suspect, man. To be honest.
It is, and it's funny you said that, because I was like, I hope he says it first, but but no, you're right. It's very weird what's going on, and the timing is just uncanny. It couldn't be. We went through this whole year with all of this shit. Now food sources are ending up damaged, burnt, blown up, flooded. I'm like, that's just a little too on the nose for me. So and I agree with you. I think it's a little strange that we're in this boat. But nonetheless, it is what it is. All right, guys. So we are at 100. We're at 1,498 viewers. Could you guys do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe, and get the or the thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down, whatever makes you happy. I am surprised, and I hate to jinx it, but there's only 5 thumbs down, so that's pretty good. Either I'm getting better, or the trolls got tired of my bullshit. Whatever it is, that's pretty good. Guys, also head over, if you haven't already, head over to Prepper Nation. Like and subscribe to his channel. Again, obviously you saw who I was talking to. The guy is spot on. He's good. He's smart. He's not a fearmonger. So, and I think we are both on the same level as far as the thought process goes, which is why everything you said was like, damn like I would have said it, except for I would have threw some curses in there, because that's
all right, man.
No, it's funny. I got my nuts broken again. It's just amazing, and the cursing, I'm getting used to those complaints. The music and the thumbnails, that's a new one. I'm like, really? You're judging my entire channel on the one thumbnail? I'm like, you got to be bored, or go get a girlfriend or some shit. I don't know, man. Sit in the corner.
I like the music, man.
Thank you. I thought it was just, very what is that called? Book of Eli. So I typed in Book of Eli music, and that was the closest one. The one you hear in the beginning and the end. So it was what it was. But listen, man, we are at the hour mark, a little past it actually. Oh well, on the regular time we're past it. The first live stream we did, I'm gonna leave up because you answered like 3 questions. So that's gonna be part 1. This is gonna be part 2. And I hate to do that, but whatever. Because we were like 10 minutes in or whatever. But listen, guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Prepper Nation, thank you for joining us tonight. And also, my last question. Oh, I have to ask this question.
Sure, man.
Where did you get the name Prepper Nation from?
You know, man, it's funny you mentioned that, because when I decided to switch over and start doing prepping, I was subscribed to a lot of channels, and there's certain channels out there that will ignore people. Like, if people have a question, unless they super chat or something, they're just totally ignored.
Right.
So I promised myself I wasn't going to do that no matter what. Like, even if I get 1 million subscribers or whatever, I'm going to go through and I'm going to check all the comments later. And so Prepper Nation is really everybody's welcome. It doesn't matter if they have money or not. And, you know, I can't answer all the questions, but there are a lot of advanced preppers over there that help me out during the live streams and stuff to get questions answered and stuff. So it's just, it came to be because it's just for everybody, man. It's not just me; it's everybody.
Well, I think personally it's pretty cool because, you know, you'll sound off Prepper Nation and then you'll see it in your comments, you know, like Prepper Nation and, like, you know, explanation. I think it's pretty cool. So almost like a battle cry, if you will. So that's why I had to ask that question. I thought it was pretty. It's a pretty cool name, actually. But all right, guys. So listen, again, thank you for joining us tonight, Prepper Nation. Thank you for joining me, and we will see you guys in the next one. Good night, guys.